Welcome, guys. It's your man, Jay Will. It's time for Tuesday Night Podcast. I'm running a little late, guys. I had a bunch of stuff going on, so my apologies. But I did have a bunch of things going on, so I'm finally caught up to speed. I know it's late, but it's only late where I'm at. It's actually 9:45, so where you're at, it could be 6:45, 5:45. I don't know which one it is for you, but hopefully if you're not on Central Standard Time, you're able to listen in, and it's still kind of early in the day for you, but you are off work. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to share this link out to Google Plus and let the Google Plus family know that we're live here. So as always, we have a topic when we do these podcasts, and I actually have a special guest on the podcast, and I'll introduce this person here in just a second. You guys already know him. If you're on YouTube or if you're in a lot of the tech communities, you know who he is. I've been trying to find a way to have guests on the podcast. And while this isn't a certified win or official way I'm going to do these podcasts with a guest, this is definitely a start. So audio will be good. Everything will be perfect for you guys. My first guest ever on the Tuesday Night Podcast is my man, Night Tech from Night Tech Review. Say what's up, Anthony.
Yo, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah. All right. So tonight we're going to kind of touch on several topics. If we can, we're going to push through as much as we can and try to talk about everything that we can when it comes to these smartphones. But the industry seems to be going in a direction that we knew it was going to go in. We just didn't know when. And so with that being said, the industry is going to take a shift, and we're going to have to decide if we're going to follow that shift. And I'm talking about folding phones. So if a folding phone is the way we're going, because, the industry, it shifts, right? The industry, we don't really get a choice in what we want from the industry. I think everybody who knows smartphones, and you know the industry, you know that they're not really giving us a choice. So we're going to get Night Tech's thoughts on it. We're going to do all that we can to get comments from you guys. Let me open up the chat. Oh, we got some people in the chat already. Let me see back around here. Shout out to Marcus. I see what's going on. So special guest tonight, guys, is Night Tech from Night Tech Reviews. So we're just going to get our little battle on. No, we're not going to battle. We're going to just chat, man. We're going to chat about smartphones, folding phones, touchscreen phones that slide out, all the stuff Samsung announced. And, you've heard ZTE's coming up with something. We'll chat about that, too. But I'll let Night Tech kick off this first part of this conversation about his initial thoughts on folding phones. Is it gonna make or break, or is it gonna do well, or what do you guys think it's gonna do? Night Tech, how do you think the first iteration of a folding phone is gonna go? You think it's gonna be well received? Does it matter? Well, first let me ask you that. Do you think that folding cell phones, or that can fold open into a tablet or a computer, do you think that's going to be a success?
Me personally, I actually do, because that basically, when you first think of a folding phone that turns into a tablet, the first thing that I think of is cutting down on so many devices that I have to carry around. So if I have a cell phone that can say, I don't know, maybe a cell phone that could flip into a 7-inch tablet, that right there cuts down on me carrying my mini tablet, my phone, and I can just, hopefully it's small enough that you can flip it closed or whichever way it's going to go and just put it in your pocket. So I think that, me personally, I think it's going to be received really well definitely in the tech community. Let me think. The average consumer, I think the average consumer also will actually love something like that, because, like I said, that cuts down on buying multiple devices. So, people that want a tablet and a computer, it's not a tablet and a phone,
right?
Can have one device hopefully without having to break the bank, or at least have it come at a price point where it would add up to buying a cell phone and a tablet. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Do you think that just from your experience of being in the tech world, the time that you've been in, and I know you were you were not a YouTuber the entire time. You were actually just a regular consumer, and then you started doing YouTube. So your perspective on devices might be a little bit more towards the average consumer, depending on how much your techie side shows. But do you feel like what's too big, what's too small? You know what I mean? So, and then I'll get to some of the comments in the chat in just a second. But do you feel what would be a good size for a folding smartphone or something of that nature?
I would say, let's see, it would have to be probably, it can't be more than, I'm going to say, folding out into a tablet. It can't be more than 7 inches. Because at that point, that means your phone is getting, the phone, even if you fold it closed, is still kind of big.
Right.
So, you're going to want to fit it in your pocket. The whole point, I'm guessing, of the foldable, smartphone / tablet is that it's, can fold in, you'll be able to put it, in a purse or your pocket or like a small bag or something. You don't want to be flipping out your cell phone into a 12-inch tablet.
Right.
At that point, you might as well say your cell phone, even if you close it, the screen is at least at 6.5 inches, right. I'm going to say. So you don't want it too big. I would say flip close, I would say maybe in between, I'm going to say maybe 5.5, no bigger than 6.
Okay. So,
I don't know.
But it would also have to depend on how big the phone actually, it would have to depend on the size of the screens and the body of the phone to determine, that's going to be a huge factor in how big the actual device could be. So before we keep going a little bit, I want to give a shout out to some of the regulars in the chat. These guys are showing back up, and we got Grant and Cliff is in here, and Marcus is in here, and anybody who hasn't joined in, hasn't said anything in the chat, those guys are here. So we appreciate you guys. Today's topic is folding smartphones. Where are we going to go with this? Is it gonna take off, or what's going to happen with it? What's going to happen with folding smartphones? Is it a good idea? All those things we want to kind of touch on in this particular podcast right here. So we got a special guest tonight from Night Tech Reviews is on tonight. So shout out to everybody. So Night Tech. What don't you think it would depend on, and everybody in the podcast too, don't you think it would depend on the size of the screen, or are they can they make it durable enough? Shout out to Marcus, he says are they durable enough? Forest Tech, shout out to Forest Tech, are they going to be durable enough to handle the folding, which means that there's going to be probably a hinge, right? So when they do that, they're going to have some kind of huge hinge or strong hinge on it to be able to handle it, I would assume.
Yeah, I figured that there would be, the hinge in the middle. The back would probably still be, their choice of glass or aluminum. You can still make the back glass or metal, because it's still, just a hinge in the middle. Yeah. We're definitely not going to get, that folding device that's basically just screen, because... Right. You gotta have some type of something to hold the screen together. Right. But at first, I think the first couple of devices that come out aren't going to be, the thinnest devices. They're going to have some thickness to them.
Yeah, that's definitely a must. I don't think you're going to be able to have a phone that is folding and thin. That's not going to work. At least not in the first generation. At least not in the first generation. I think a problem that we might run into is people are going to see that the first generation isn't what they expected it to be, and then they're going to be mad. Oh, this is garbage. I think that's probably going to happen. I'm not talking about any one OEM. I'm saying in general, the OEMs, it's going to be their first go around, so they're going to take it easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to read some of the comments here real quick, Night Tech, and you can respond if you want to some of these. Shout out to Cliff. He says, I'm not sure I'm buying into the folding phone thing for the first generation. Seems like it would be a good amount of trial and error to start. And Marcus says, when I think about a folding phone, I think about a freaking two-way. What do you think about that, Night Tech? What do you think about, some people saying, hey, the first gen, I don't know if I'm going to be feeling it. What do you think?
Well, that's correct. A lot of people aren't going to be feeling the first generation of folded smartphones, or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah.
Because already in these people's mind, they're seeing these concept devices from like Samsung, where they're nice and thin, and they're pulling them out of small, little things. So that's what they're thinking about in their mind. So when the first wave of foldable displays come, like I said, they're not going to be thin. They're probably not going to be the prettiest devices out there. The whole two-way thing, I don't think it's going to be a two-way type thing.
Right.
Because that's just crazy. I would think more of a updated, better version of, what was it, the Kyocera,
the Kyocera Echo.
The Echo.
Yeah, the Kyocera Echo.
Something like that, maybe. Something more updated. But it's not going to be nothing like futuristic that's you're going to want to like run out that day and stand online and
I don't know
for the device.
I don't know. And shout out to everybody who's continuously joining in the chat. I don't know. I think that when you have a first generation phone, I think depending on who the OEM is, we have to set our standards accordingly. So I'm not saying that any one person is wrong, but I'm just saying when you have a first generation, and I've talked about this in another podcast, if it's Apple or Samsung, everybody's going to expect them to come hard the first time, because I watched a video from a young guy on YouTube, right? And pretty much he was right on point. Why does the iPhone 8 exist? Apple is scamming us pretty much once again by releasing the iPhone 8 when the 10 should be the 8. But Apple likes money, and that's a whole nother topic. But the fact is, why does the 8 exist and the 10 is the next generation, the future as they put it? That's a first generation phone, and we're kind of talking about first generation phones, folding phones too, but first generation phones, Apple makes a first generation phone, and it's the 10. I mean, come on. That everybody expects for that to be good, and it's probably going to be decent. You know what I mean? So, but a folding generation, first generation phone, I think people should probably consider it to be a first generation. Like, there's no way to say it. Like, it's not going to be perfect, probably. It's going to have its own issues. This is just what it's going to be. I think I lost Night Tech. He'll probably call back in. But this is just what it's going to be. So, a first generation phone, if you guys hear some vibrating, that's probably Night Tech calling back in. A first generation phone is going to have some issues. This is just what it is. And if people don't consider, okay, this is the first model of this, I know it's not going to be good. Let me just give it a try if the price is right. And to the people in the chat also, here's Night Tech. There you go, Night Tech. I lost you for a second.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, so if a person got a first gen, and I'm going to get to the comments, some of the comments that are building up in the chat. If a person's looking at a first generation device, I think it's better to, I guess, just be a little bit more open-minded about it. Because I think by today's standards, when people see a new phone, they want it to be flawless out the box. They want all the boxes checked. They want it to be exactly what they want it to be. And that's just not how it works. Every phone is going to release with some kind of problem. No phone has ever released that I know of that worked out flawless and everything was perfect. I have yet to see that. I've yet to see that. And if it releases with no bugs or anything, that is a miracle. That's a miracle.
Yep.
So,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So I'm going to get to some of these comments, Night Tech, and then we'll get back into this. Let's see here. So not everyone, this is from Sean, not everybody is going to buy that. Is the device today? We're not. So, Sean, we're not talking about any one device. We're just kind of talking about, in general, folding phones. So, but the only folding phone that's actually being rumored right now is the Z device, and we don't really have anything on that yet. So we're not talking about one specific device. 2K folding displays, I doubt we'll see those anytime soon. Because think about it, this is a first generation phone. Are the companies willing to invest that much money up front? Or, even, well, when I say that much money, I mean, if it were to have a 2K display, it's probably going to be very expensive in the first generation, is what I'm saying. So Marcus says, first gen is normally the bug generation, but you have to get open-minded. Yep, that's correct. You got to be open-minded about it and be, check out some excitement for the concept. Marcus says, to be honest, I'm surprised they aren't working on holographic tech yet. Well, that's actually already moving about, but not on smartphones. That's just what that's about. It's not really banging on smartphones because the most we'll get on smartphones is probably the parallax effect. So that's probably the best we're going to get right now. But Night Tech, what do you think about something like that? Holographics on phones. Do you think that's too much, or what do you think?
I don't. They tried. Well, no, that was 3D with the whole HTC thing. I don't know, man. I don't see if it does happen. That's gonna be a pricey device.
Yeah.
Like the first phone that I believe right now they're supposed to be coming out with the holographic display is the Red phone. It's supposed to have that.
Yeah.
And look at that. That thing was like $1,500.
Totally not worth it. Totally not worth it.
Are you willing to really invest $1,500 into a holographic display?
Right.
When you don't know if you're actually, because you got to think about it. Let's go back to when you remember what was it, the HTC Evo 3D. Remember that? It was the 3D screen without the glasses.
Right.
And everybody jumped on that. I remember I had one, and it at the first couple of, maybe a month in, it was all cool and good. You were using it, but how much are you actually going to use a holographic display? Like, what are you really doing with it is the question.
Well, another thing about 3D displays is when that Sprint phone came out with the 3D stuff, if you didn't have a 3D phone to match it, you didn't, it's no good. Like the person you sending it to, if they didn't have any kind of 3D stuff, it was kind of pointless.
Yeah, it just came
and that died off really fast. That died off fast. It died off really fast.
Yeah.
So, the whole, folding phone thing, I think it could be kind of a hit. I think it could be a hit. I feel like what I think what we're going to run into is people not giving it a chance. They're going to judge the first phone for all the coming phones. You know what I mean? How people do that, They're going to judge the first phone. It doesn't matter who's making it. Any first generation, if it sucks or it's not what a person wants or they think it's the worst, they immediately jump online and say, don't buy this. Like I remember when the Fire phone came out and everybody said, oh, don't buy this. And I'm thinking, wow, why are y'all telling people not to buy this? This is actually a pretty decent phone. But people's standards, but what I didn't realize at that time is I was trying to convince the tech community, which is dumb. I can't convince the tech community to do anything because the tech community changes every 5 minutes. It changes every 5 minutes, and people's attitudes change in the tech community every 5 minutes, it seems. So there's no convincing a person that something is good or bad or whatever. It's just not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen. So with a folding phone, here's what I think is going to happen. And it's just my personal thoughts on it. Seeing as how long I've been doing the YouTube thing, I think people are going to shoot it down before they even give it a chance. Let's get into some comments tonight, so you can take some of these comments. Grant has a good one. I'll read Grant. Let me see if I skip somebody. Sean says the only ones buying foldable smartphones are techies. Well, Sean, I gotta disagree because the foldable smartphones that are coming out are going to carriers. So now we'll see exactly how well the reps sell them. That's what that's about. So, because it just leaked out that the foldable phone that ZTE is coming out is going to be on AT&T. Someone leaked that on the internet. But Grant, here's something, Night Tech. The ZTE Axon 7 Max with 3D, that was actually pretty cool to have that 3D display, but we never got a chance to see it take off. We didn't get anything to do with it because it didn't come to the U.S.
Yeah, but and at the same time, I understand what you're getting at, but you got to remember, the Evo 3D was aimed towards basically 3D 3D media. So they wanted you to take 3D video and all that other stuff and send it to other people with the Evo 3D so they could watch it. They wanted you to record video in 3D. When it comes to the Axon 7 Max, that was more aimed toward watching 3D content with glasses.
Right.
Wasn't really aimed towards, sending, 3D video to people.
Right.
Which phone right now actually has 3D, besides the Axon 7 Max, has 3D screen.
Right.
Like, we've seen a couple at CES, but those phones aren't out at all right now, besides the Axon 7 Max.
Right. Right. And that's kind of unfortunate too, because the Axon 7 Max, I thought that was a nice phone, man. I thought that was a hot phone. I thought that phone was actually pretty sweet. Huh?
I was hoping that thing came to the U.S.
You and me both. Let me read some of these comments, man. You can respond to some of these. Marcus says, he's talking to Sean about the folding phones. Cliff says, not sure how this will go through, as in it could go like 3D. Folding phones might be hard to sell to the average person, and as a result may die quickly before multiple generations can come to refine the build and design. Now, I totally agree with that, and I'll say this on top of that. Again, it depends on how the sales reps are pushing it. So, and you know what also matters? And you guys in the live chat can comment on this too. Night Tech, I want to go to you first. Do you think that it matters who's making the phone?
Oh, it definitely matters who's making the phone.
Which means marketing, right?
Maybe back when it didn't, but now, 2017, it definitely matters who's making the device. Because I can tell you right now, if, companies like Apple and Samsung, if they're the first to come out, say if they were going to be the first to come out with a foldable display, Samsung and Apple have a bigger following than any other OEM out there.
Correct.
So their followers, are going to look at the device and they're going to judge it, but they're also going to think, hey, this is Samsung, so this device is going to be good to a certain point. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best, but they're going to give a Samsung foldable display, device a chance before, say, something like, ZTE or maybe, I don't know, LG or something like that.
Right.
But like I said, it all depends on. It does really take a big part on who's making these displays. These devices.
And it's unfortunate that it matters who's making it, because an OEM can here's a great example. Xiaomi is a fantastic company, but they're not well known in the U.S. So they don't get the love that they could possibly get. So I bet if ZTE wasn't the company making this first foldable phone, bringing it to the U.S., I guarantee you that if it was Samsung or Apple or LG or just HTC, anybody bigger that we can consider that the world thinks is bigger than ZTE, especially Samsung, I guarantee you that it will be so much marketing for it. It will be stuff everywhere, and everybody will be buying into it, saying, I know if Samsung's making it, that it's going to be great. I know it. But since it's a company like ZTE, which ZTE is a very successful company, I'm not just saying that, and they're not paying me to say anything, but do your own research. ZTE is a very successful company, but the view of a person and the view of a company, once you get a certain view, some people just don't want to acknowledge you in any kind of way at all. They don't show any love. No matter if you do bring out a great device like the Axon 7, people complain about that. Well, it doesn't have this, doesn't have that. It may not have everything that you want, but it at least has the essentials that you need to consider it a great phone. Let me go to some of the comments, man. You can check these out. Popular brands matter. If Apple and Samsung logo is on it, it would work. These things are expensive. Yeah. If Apple or Samsung drop it, it will sell. No slug. Yeah. And pretty much these guys are agreeing. It's unfortunate that if you do put a brand name on it, and that, I'm not saying, now, in Night Tech, you can chime in. I don't think that I'm saying I hate that Samsung and Apple gets more love than other. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, the other OEMs should step up their game to get their name out there like that, like Samsung and Apple, if that's what they so choose to do. But until then, when people say smartphone, they don't say Apple, they say iPhone. When they don't say Samsung, they say, oh, you got a Galaxy? I've actually heard people saying that. You got a Galaxy or you got an iPhone? I've heard people saying that, and they're like, is that a Galaxy or is that an iPhone? You're like, it's neither. This is an LG.
Yeah.
Who is that? Or this is an HTC. Who is that? You're like, whoa, I mean, you can't be. But that is the great marketing of these OEMs. So what do you think, Night Tech?
I totally agree with you 100%. If the, smaller, well, technically they don't have to be smaller, but these other OEMs did more marketing, push their devices and their brand more, I think they could, be up there. Probably not, be ahead, but, they could at least be up there with Apple and Samsung or, iPhone and Galaxy.
Yep. I totally agree. I think that, I think if, see, here's the problem I have with the folding display. And first of all, the Kyocera Echo was before its time. That wasn't a bad phone. Let's be clear here. It's not that was a bad phone. It didn't get the push that it deserved at the time. Like the industry, consumers aren't ready for change. And this holds true because that's why Apple is doing so well. That's why Apple can sell an iPhone every year to the same person and convince them that it's futuristic. Because people like slow, they don't like to change fast, and they're comfortable with something that's working for them. That's why Apple can sell so much of the same. And Samsung is not excused. The Galaxy phones don't get that much of an upgrade. Samsung, what makes it look like Samsung is doing something different, because Samsung's pretty much been using the same cameras in their phones for the last 3 generations? Or 2 generations at least. So, and they'll say, well, we added a new optic, or we did and people buy into it. So, it's unfortunate that depending on which OEM is saying that it's good, it actually sells. That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. And let me get some comments here. Let's see if I can get. So Sean says quality don't equal popularity. Of course. Doubt I would want to buy this. Is from Art, shout out to Art Dog. He says I doubt I'd buy one. Just seems like too much of a tablet for me. Well, that's the purpose. They're trying to cut down, because honestly, if I could carry a small phone that flips into a bigger tablet, that's a win-win. That's a good thing. That way I can have my tablet in my pocket if I wanted to, like a little 6.5 inch, like the phone that I reviewed recently called the Hans Max 2. That thing is 6.44 inches on the screen. It's huge. If that phone can fold in half, that would be sweet. Marcus says these OEMs don't want to spend. Let me go back up to this one. They don't want to spend the money to get their names out there. Look at BlackBerry, lost people. Yeah, BlackBerry was living on their name for a long time because of popularity, and they have produced. And just be clear, BlackBerry is still a very popular brand, just not in the U.S. There was just a BlackBerry 10 device released in the last 2 years, but it wasn't for the U.S. market. It still had the keyboard, saying everything was still there. But some OEMs, they're intentionally not pushing their name in the U.S. because why? U.S. people get it. The people over here in the U.S., we're getting shafted. We're paying a lot more for our cell phone bills, and we're getting slower internet speeds, and we're paying for our phones in this crazy way of let's pay monthly, let's trick the customers into thinking they're getting a better deal when actually they're paying off the phones so we don't have to subsidize anymore. I would rather go back to subsidized phones. That way I can spend less money out of pocket. That's just what I would do. I would pay if all the phones came out and they went back to subsidized. I would be totally fine with that because that's the way the industry was for a long time. Now that I've gotten a chance to experience paying for the full cost of the phone, I don't really like it. So I decide, well, I ain't gonna finance no phone, so I'm gonna go buy that phone and then pick the carrier that I want. That's why I decided to live unlocked. You know what I mean? I might as well just buy my phone at cost instead of giving it to the carriers and being locked in with them for 2 years because it's a 2-year contract any way you look at it. And in some of these carriers, Nitek, how do you feel about it? We'll get to that in a second. But some of these carriers are saying it's not a contract when it is a contract because you're locked with them. You're stuck with them. If it was no contract, we wouldn't have locked cell phones and you wouldn't have to sign the contract to pay for your phone. It's just the way it is. But what do you think about exclusive? Like, Nitek, there's a leak out there that AT&T is going to be getting this new phone that's coming out. Exclusive deals, is that a good thing for a first-generation phone?
The way I see it is it could be a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing because it's in a carrier store.
Right.
So more people will be able to see it. Even if somebody's thinking about getting it, they can walk in the store and view the device versus having to buy it through the internet and not getting hands-on time. But exclusives, on the other hand, I don't like because if you do want that device, you can't get it from your carrier. Like you said, I live unlocked. I don't buy carrier devices. If I do buy them from the carrier, I buy them full price, whether it's Amazon or whatever. But yeah, man, that kind of the bad part is it limits who can get that device. So at the same time, it's limiting sales really on that device. Because say if somebody from Verizon wants that device, they can't go pick it up because it's AT&T exclusive. Just like with the whole Pixel, you can get it unlocked, but you can't walk into a T-Mobile store and get it. You have to go into a Verizon store or buy it through Google or Best Buy or whatever.
Right. So
it's it's a good thing on one hand, it's a bad thing on the other. So
yeah, I think for a I lost you, Nitek. For a I'm gonna switch him to a different phone because it seems like he's catching I don't know if he's getting a bad signal or what. Let me see, I'll have him call me on Hangouts because that was actually an actual call. I'll call him on Hangouts actually. But I think that let me read some of your comments, by the way. Grant says, the thing about foldable phones is you've got two displays. Right, you got two displays, and it's going to fold into a square. So I think that, let me see if I got Nitek. I got you back, Nitek?
Yeah.
Okay. I switched you to a better speaker on the device. You should sound a heck of a lot better to everybody else now.
Okay.
Yeah. I was using that Hans phone, and the speaker on it is not too great. So you sound super better. You sound way better now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, you sound crystal clear. So it was the other phone. So guys, I apologize. I was testing out that Hans phone that I just got, and I have my SIM card in. I'm using it, and I was testing out the speakers I wanted to use for it. Yeah, Nitek, you sound like you're sitting in the room with me now. You sound so clear now. So again, apologize to the podcast if Nitek sounded really bad. It wasn't him, it was me. So yeah, but Grant is talking about how if it's going to be a square or whatever, how it might sound. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. This is a concern. What if it is like a square? For the foldable display.
I wouldn't think it would fold into a I don't know. I think it would be more of a rectangle. If anything, tablets aren't really square. They're kind of rectangular, aren't they?
For the most part, they are.
Well,
but
depending on what tablets you get, but I'm saying for the most part, they're rectangular. But there's a few out there that try to do the the 2:1 aspect ratio or whatever.
Right.
It is. I think it would probably unfold into a rectangle, some type of rectangle. I don't know.
Well, I think we'll find out soon enough because hopefully in the next month or so, we'll get more information on this one that's coming from ZTE. Hopefully we'll see something in the next month, or hopefully by next month we'll have some more information. I've seen people posting things online. As a matter of fact, Night Tech posted something online. So hopefully we'll have some updated information on what's coming. And I think the more importantly for me, I just think that people should give things a chance before they slam it. That's my only gripe. I see a lot of phones fail long before they should. And I'm not just talking about ZTE. I'm just saying in general, I think phones fail but long before they should. Like the U11 or the U Ultra failed and it shouldn't have.
We're living in a time now where people's thoughts have a big influence on people's purchases.
Yep.
And that's why I always say, even in my YouTube videos, I never try to, sway somebody to buy a device. I'm like, if you're thinking about getting a device, go try it out. Go test it out. Try it first before you dismiss it.
Right.
Because, if you don't try it, because I was one of the ones. I remember I told you I didn't use HTC devices.
Right.
It had nothing to do with, the hardware or anything. It was just my experience with, the software. I didn't really like the software.
Right.
Like the skin and stuff.
Right.
But I did give the U Ultra and the U11 a chance. I did like the devices, both devices. I just didn't like the software. I couldn't get with the software on the devices, but they were both great built devices with great cameras.
Right.
The only reason I didn't keep them because of the software. I'm more of a software person than hardware, but yeah, man. Like I said, a lot of people don't give these devices a chance because they're listening to other people's opinions and stuff.
And every user is going to be different. Like, that's just a given. One person's experience is going to be completely different than the next person's experience. But in the tech world, man, in the tech community, and I'm going to get to you guys' comments. Shout out to everybody in the comments. I see you comment. I'm going to catch up on the comments. In the tech community, there's so much bitter and childish bickering amongst each other for when things come about. People don't know how to learn to agree to disagree. And that's the bad part about being in the tech community, because I've seen some ugly things happen in the tech community that just didn't have to happen. And I just feel like if you don't like something in the tech world, move on to what you do like. And I foresee this new ZTE device that's coming. It's going to either flop right away because big YouTubers are going to say, this is stupid, or it looks like this, or it should have been this. But remember, this is a first gen, and see, the bigger YouTubers, and when I say big YouTubers, I mean people who are an influence, because I may be an influence on people because of some of the things I say, but what you say out of your mouth is a huge impact on a device. So if you say a device is bad, and you have 2 million people following you, those 2 million people probably won't think for themselves. They're gonna, because they trust your word and they like you as a YouTuber. They're gonna say, "Yeah, I knew it, man. He was right. So and so said it was bad." And then the word travels quick. The word travels quick. It travels real fast. And I don't need to say one particular YouTuber. I'm just saying in general, some YouTubers, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that. They should definitely give their opinion on it and their experience. But when you tell a person, "Don't buy this," before they even get an opportunity to even check it out. This is like saying, "Don't go see that movie. It's stupid." You're like, "Well, I like comedies. This one was dumb." Well, I think I want to judge for myself. You know what I mean?
That's why I always try to say, in my videos, or, if I'm getting advice or anything, I always like to say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because that gives the, whoever you're talking to, they're like, okay, that's his opinion on it. My opinion might be different. But once you, leave those things out and you're just saying, say, I don't know, any device, say the speaker, you doing the video and you say the speaker's trash.
Right.
Once you say the speaker's trash and whoever's watching your video, if they don't have the device, or even if they do have the device, you have, planted the idea in their mind that the speaker's bad.
Right.
So from that point on, they're going to think the speaker's bad, and they're either not going to give it a chance, or they're going to give it a chance and be like, oh, yeah, the speaker's bad. Even though the speaker might be okay. It might not be the best speaker, but it might be an okay speaker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, yeah, these bigger YouTubers, they... And like I said, when you say bigger, I don't just mean, I'm not judging them, because, everybody strives in the YouTube game to be a bigger YouTuber.
Yeah, of course. You don't join YouTube not to get some kind of help. Like, who wants to keep paying for all their phones? And who would want to do that?
But once you become a bigger YouTuber, you just have to remember that you're reaching a bigger audience, and you have more influence on what people think.
Correct. That's basically that's what I was saying earlier. You're influencing a lot of people, so you want to be mindful of what you're telling people. But let's get to some of these comments, Night Tech. Let me see here. We got Cliff. Cliff says he's hoping that they will have bigger batteries. Art says, Sean says, I'm interested in the weight. Art says, I just can't picture being that easy to use as a daily driver. Cliff says, optimization seems like it will be key to having a smooth experience on combined actual usability and functionality, as opposed to just having another screen with software optimization and or real point. So I think with folding displays, the ultimate goal is to have a tablet in your pocket. I don't think they're focusing a lot on, let's make this a great phone with, I don't know that they're focusing too much on, and again, not any one OEM. People are going to think I'm talking directly about ZTE, but I'm not, because ZTE isn't the first company to announce folding displays. So if you remember IFA and last year, and every LG had them wrapping around their wrist. It was a bunch of stuff going on. Motorola. So ZTE is the first one to take a stab at it. They're the ones that grabbed theirs and they said, we're going to do this. And the thing is, though, when it comes down to usability, the purpose of, and this is just what my perspective is, if I'm buying a folding phone, that means that I'm tired of carrying around my tablet separately, or I want more real estate on my phone. So I want to be able to watch a movie at this angle, or I want to be able to text on the top and watch a movie on the bottom, or web browse on the bottom and watch a movie on the top, or YouTube on top and web browse on the bottom. That's what I'm ultimately buying it for. And this is why I feel like folding devices could be a success. I think it could be a huge success if people give it a chance. And we're in Night, all you YouTubers, Grant, Forbes Tech, Night, all you guys are in here, and anybody else that's a YouTuber in here, you know that when the first word hits the street that it's either good or bad, the masses will follow. They won't. And you know what's crazy, Night Tech, and all you other YouTubers in here? It's not average consumers following these YouTubers. It's other techies. Last I checked, if you're watching MKBHD, you're probably not the average consumer. You're a techie. I mean, no?
Oh, no, you're correct.
Of course. So the followers are not the average consumers like people try to make it out to be. It's other techies. Other techies tell other techies, and then other techies tell the average consumers. So the average consumers are not sitting on YouTube like us. They don't stream like we do that much. They stream Netflix. They don't stream. They're not looking on blogs and SDA and forums. Come on, let's be real about this.
You're right. When
the
average consumer wants to buy a device, they walk into a store.
Exactly. They know nothing about us.
They don't head to YouTube.
Yeah, they don't know anything about us. Now, the people that I've met in person that say, "Oh my God, you're a YouTuber," they're probably not average consumers. They're probably techies if they know who I am. If they know me, they know that I'm just all about smartphone conversations. I'm all about smartphones and gadgets and stuff. So they obviously know I'm for them. They could watch me because I'm for them. I don't tell people to wait on the next $1,000 phone. No, man, go spend $99 on a pre-owned certified iPhone if you just really want one. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't spend too much money on this stuff, because the fact is the OEMs don't care about us. They don't care about us. So, Willie, Night Tech, get your thoughts on this, and some people in the chat. Convenience. Is that what we're really paying for by buying a folding display?
Kind of, yeah, because you gotta think about it. Okay, from the invites that have been going out, the big giant, this billboard that they have on Madison Square Garden, ZTE. I'm gonna say they have the big giant billboard, and on the invite, it's an M, and on everybody's invites, and even on the billboard, the M is split in half. On one side it's one thing, on the other side it's the other, right?
Right.
So you got to think about it. When you're using your device, even say if your device has a 6-inch display, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go to watch YouTube, and I don't know, you get on, you're texting and watching YouTube, right?
Right.
How many times have you sat there and said, hey, I wish I had more real estate to, be able to view more of the YouTube or more of the text? Because, once you start texting, once it's split screen, the keyboard pops up and you get less.
Right, right.
You don't get to see everything. So now you got to think about it. With a foldable display, you unfold it and you have a full, say 5.5 inch on one side and a 5.5 inch on the other side.
Right.
You can have a full cell phone screen watching YouTube and a full cell phone screen writing an email or being in your email without having to compromise on a smaller display. So you can do more on a foldable display because you're folding it and you're going to be able to do 2 different things, or maybe, 4 different things. I don't know how this thing works yet.
Right.
But, or you can probably utilize the whole full entire screen. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see what ZT does. But you're definitely paying for, the convenience of having one device that serves 2 purposes.
Now, do you think that it's actually going to go over well?
It depends on what you're talking about. Like, you mean with like the techies or just period?
Okay, so let's pick first. Okay, how do you think techies are? Now, I know this is jumping the gun a little bit, but do you think that techies are actually going to give it a chance? Because the leak came out, I haven't heard techies say it was bad or good. You know what I mean? Because I try not to follow a lot of these guys. I try to get my own experience.
You're going to get, I'm going to tell you right off the back, you're going to get your usual complaints. You're going to get the complaint, because right now we don't actually know what the actual specs are. We're just seeing
leaks.
The rumor is saying 2 displays with 1080p, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be one complaint right there. They're going to be
the rumor said 2 display with 1080p?
Huh?
The rumor said it was 1080p?
It was basically 2 1080p
screens
that folded out into, I forgot what the ratio, the resolution was.
Okay, that's a start though. Remember, it's a first gen, so I ain't mad,
Yeah, I'm like 1080p, but there's going to be the people that are going to complain about it not having quad HD. They're going to judge the cameras. So, and these are things that really a lot of techies do. The average consumer, no average consumer really, unless they're part techies, actually going into a thing and going, hey, I want that device only if it has a quad HD display.
Right.
I mentioned quad HD to a lot of my friends and stuff, and they're like, what's that? What's a quad HD display?
Right.
And I'm like, it's a high resolution, display. It's higher than 1080p. They're like, what's 1080p? They don't.
You're like, what?
They're not really thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's going to come, it's going to be really the techies that are really going to judge it.
Oh, yeah.
The average consumer the people that are going to buy this device are people that aren't, like I said, I'm not going to call them fanboys, but, followers of Apple, Samsung, or whatever, OEM that they like. The people that are going to give this device, that I think they're going to give this device a chance, are going to be the average consumer that wants a phone and a tablet, but, wants it for a reasonable price and doesn't want to have to carry around two devices.
Because right now,
don't want to carry around two devices. They want to carry around one device. Right.
And right now, when you go into a carrier store, they want you to buy a tablet. You ever seen that promo? Buy this phone and get a tablet and add a line on, and you get, that's going to kill off. See, if the tech world was smart, they would help the companies, whoever makes these. They should be pushing that technology. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about that on my next video. Whenever I see this phone, that's going to be the one of the first things that I'll talk about when I tell the public about it. Because there are average consumers that watch me, and I would definitely help push this phone in that aspect, because when you walk into a carrier, they have, get a free LG. LG is notorious for this, and Samsung. When it comes to T-Mobile. T-Mobile will give you an iPad. They'll just give you a tablet if you buy the phone. I've done it before. I've gotten a free iPad for buying an iPhone. I had to wait on the monthly credits or whatever, but still. And I've gotten like 3 tablets free through them. A lot of LGs. I got a Samsung free. I've gotten so many tablets free. This is a great opportunity to capitalize on, to see how the consumer, because in this aspect, AT&T is actually thinking about the consumer. If it is going to AT&T, and if this is a ZT, if everything is real, this will be one of the few times where I think they're actually thinking about the customer, and are they going to sell it right?
Yeah, because you got to think about it. If they're smart, they'll sell it for a reasonable price, right? And advertise it as what it is. Don't just say, "Oh, we have a cell phone that it folds out into a tablet."
Right.
No, advertise it as a cell phone that folds out into a tablet that you won't have to buy another device to lug around in your purse or, in your back pocket. I don't know where people carry their tablets these days, but it's and also capitalize on the point that you can have this one device and you don't have to pay 2 bills.
Right.
You don't have to pay for that LTE on that tablet because your tablet already has LTE because your tablet is your phone.
Correct. That will be the smartest move that these OEMs, or that if whoever gets the phone first, that will be one of the, they could, now think about how hard it is to get a person to add a line. Average consumers, they're not that dumb. They be like, I see it all the time when I walk into stores. They be like, I don't want to add a line just to get that free. No, that's okay. The sales rep will get them pumped up, and they'll get them all hyped thinking, okay, I get a free tablet. And they're like, but you got to add a line, you got to pay data on this. They're basically getting you another line of service out of you, and then they're also getting you to pay data on that, and you got to wait on a credit and all that stuff. That's a hassle for a customer. So getting a phone that's a tablet and a phone, that's sweet. That's a huge win if sold right.
Yep, and you got to think about it. There's a lot of people, like they always say, tablets declining. There's a lot of people that use tablets.
Man, tablets
everyday use.
It's a win-win. You already know me. I use my tablet every friggin' day.
I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of people that carry around, their iPads or their whatever Android tablet.
Yeah.
Just wish they had one device. There's been plenty of times I've been out and had my phone and wanted to bang out an email and didn't want to do it on a little tiny, even though the screen is 5.7.
Right.
I don't want to do it. I want it on I want to be able to do it on a bigger screen.
Right.
Like, I'm saying, there's so many possibilities for this phone, and as long as whoever gets it, wherever OEM gets it, wherever carrier gets it, markets it right, and that's another thing people forget. A lot of people say T is not going to market it right. Well, from what we've seen, ZTE does a lot of devices for carriers.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
They do a lot of devices for carriers. So a lot of people say, oh, well, ZTE doesn't market the devices. Well, technically, they're making these devices for these carriers.
Right.
It's kind of the carrier's job to actually market these devices. Like when you go to Boost Mobile, Cricket, Metro, and they have these ZT, the Z Max and the Blade X Max and all these other devices requested by these carriers,
right,
for ZT to make. So you'll see these devices in the Boost Mobile commercial. You'll see these devices in a Cricket commercial.
Right.
It doesn't mean that ZT is not pushing it. It's just that these devices are for these carriers, and those carriers' job to push the marketing on those.
Right. Yeah, I think a big misconception about the industry is a lot of people don't know. And they think they know, but they don't know. They don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And the only reason I know is because of the exposure that I got from dealing with Huawei. Some people don't know, but I used to do a lot of beta testing for Huawei, a lot back in the day. And that's kind of when I got my first exposure to what goes on in the industry and how it's done. And then dealing with ZTE is just capitalized and made it even better. I grew a lot, I learned a lot. And I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning a lot by dealing with ZTE. But I think let's do a quick intermission. Thanks to everybody that's in the stream, in the podcast. I'm sorry. Appreciate you guys joining on, and those who haven't been here since the beginning. Today's topic is pretty much foldable phones, if you haven't figured that out yet, and how they're going to impact us in the future. There's new devices coming that are folding. We got a special guest on tonight, which is Night-Tech. And we're discussing foldable displays. And Night-Tech he's a reviewer. He's a longtime tech person. But he's kind of like me. He's also an average consumer. Because he's buying everything. Now, obviously, I've grown to the point on my channel that I get a lot of stuff for free. But Night-Tech is, it's kind of part-time for Night-Tech. Now, he used to be full-time, and now I think he just kind of moved to part-time and just posts when he can. But he's still a YouTuber, and he's got a lot of insight. We both traveled to CES, and that was an experience. Oh my gosh, that was an experience. And speaking of CES, I want to give a quick plug because I talked about it in my Smartphone Conversations news yesterday. You have until the 15th of October. Today is the 10th. You have basically 4 to 5 more days to get your entry in to win a contest for CES. Contrary to what you might believe, me and Night-Tech, we just won those trips. We won the trip. We entered and we won. And that's what it was. So it's your turn to try to win a way down there and have fun, because if you care about the company, now this is strictly about ZTE. If you like ZTE products and you care about the company and you want to try to go to CES, they're going to pay your way. Or at least they'll pay some of it. They'll at least pay for your time at CES if you can get yourself there. But the rules and everything are clearly on the community at ZTE.com. So you go to community.zteusa.com and you can have your chance to win your own trip to CES. And you will be overwhelmed. Trust me. Every electronic you could think of, the experience is overwhelming. So back to the subject at hand. Night-Tech and myself and everybody in the podcast, I really enjoy talking about smart. This is what it's about, man. This is what I like to do. And I thought no better way than to celebrate than to start having guests on. And I asked Night-Tech, hey, you want to be the first guest? Let's talk about it. I know you got a lot of insight on it. And he buys nearly 89 to 95% of the phones that come out. So he's got some insight on it. And Grant and Forbes Tech, I wanted to go to you guys and have you guys on the podcast as well if you're up for it. But today, folding phones, I think they're going to be a huge convenience for the consumer if sold right. Now, Night-Tech, what is you kind of touched on this earlier, but I wanted to piggyback and come back to it because you kind of went away from it kind of fast, and we ventured off. But I want to get back to this because they were talking about it in the podcast chat as well. The size of the screen. We didn't touch on it long enough. Now, the size of the screen, building a device, how small can the device actually, because you think about this now, you got to have a hinge. Like you said earlier, you got to have a hinge. Well, you're right. You got to have some way to close it. It doesn't matter which way it folds. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to fold it up. So demanding a lot from these OEMs up front, saying they better be this and it better be that, that's just not realistic. There's got to be, like someone also said in the chat, that's kind of the guinea pig. It's the bug phone. It's the one that people, they try out to see how well it adapts. The size of the screen is going to matter. Do you feel like do you feel like there's a limit on how small the screen should be?
Well, yeah, there should be a
I mean, like the main phone, like when you're not using a tablet, how small do you think they can fit that in there? Huh?
Okay, so you mean when it's just in phone mode?
When it's closed in phone mode, how small could they possibly go? What would be too small? Because remember, the Kyocera Echo was a 3.5 inch screen, but it had a huge body, so it made it look stupid. It didn't look too good. So it actually 3.5 is doable, man. That folds into what, a 4.8 or a 5 inch tablet or something like that. The ratio, I don't know exactly what it is, but that is definitely doable. A 3.5 inch folding display, but the problem with that is, what are people going to say? They're going to say, man, my screen, this is too small of it. Because when they're using it as a regular phone, they're going to almost always have it folded open to actually get some use out of it. So what's too small?
I feel like, I don't know. Let me think. So if we got two displays, and they're five, I would say, now that you think about it, if it's folding out to, say, 6.8, then I feel like, yeah, each screen got to be at least 3.5.
Yeah.
Because anything smaller than 3.5,
yeah,
you're not even in, I feel like you're not even in tablet mode. Tablet, when you flip it out anymore, you're more in to like
phone.
Phablet.
Yeah.
You're like in tablet mode at that point. So, yeah, I feel like 3.5 would probably have to be the smallest you can go. Anything smaller than that, then it's no longer folding out into a tablet. It's folding out into a phablet.
So let's take a look at 2011. March 2011, the Kyocera Echo was announced, right? So that phone, believe it or not, these specs are going to trip you out. And everybody in the podcast, this is going to bug you out. Back in 2011, March, that phone weighed 193 grams. It was 17. Whoa. I know. It was 17.2 millimeters thick. That's bigger than a MacBook, right? You know what I'm saying? That's thick.
I'm about to say, that's like.
That's thick.
Yo, so that's a thick. That's a piece slice of pound cake.
It's a thick device. So it was 193 grams. It was 17.2 millimeters in thick. No, but back then they were saying, "Oh my God, that's great." But I'm not done. Check this out. So it was 193 grams, 17.2 millimeters in thickness. It ran Android 2.2.
Wow.
It had 1 gig of RAM. It did have an SD card slot, believe it or not, way back then. And the screen was 3.5 inches on both screens, but the resolution was 480 by 800.
Wow.
It's hard to believe this was just 6 years ago. And then on top of that, it's going on 7 years, but the camera was a 5 megapixel camera. Because remember, you can only have probably one camera, right? So if you got a folding display, you can probably only fit one camera in there, depending on how you're building it. So at this time, they had the one camera, and it was a 5 megapixel camera, and the highest resolution was 720p. But remember, that was fantastic back then. That was a great camera right there. The RAM was 512 megabytes of RAM. Amazing. 512 of RAM. 512 megabytes of RAM.
With that. You can't do nothing with that right about
now.
Oh,
no. You can't even open Snapchat with that. The processor, you ready? The processor was a Snapdragon S1. The Snapdragon S1.
Wow. I actually remember that.
That's crazy, right? How big you think the battery was?
That battery had to be like, battery had to be small, man.
It was the battery.
Really small.
The battery is actually it was 1,070 milliamps. But when you think about it,
that's like 5 minutes.
When you think about it, though, when you think about this, it was only pushing a 480 by 800 display. That's nothing.
That's crazy.
And the colors were only 256,000, man. That's a bad looking. I mean, it was a TFT capacitive screen. Oh my gosh, it was pretty bad. It was running Froyo, Android Froyo. That's crazy. But this is why I say this phone was ahead of its time, because when you think about it, And I said this in another podcast and video. I was like, pretty much what we're going to get is a remake, and we're going to get an update. Like, if ZTE is releasing a phone, you can rest assured that they probably said, let's take a look at what the first one did. This is the only folding phone that I remember that was Android. Like a folding phone. This is it.
Yeah, they had the folding tablet, but yeah, it's the first folding phone.
Yeah. So
because the first folding tablet was the Sony Tablet P, and that one was 2011 also.
Yeah, that they was way back there, man. They was way back there. So folding phones. And I'm going to pull up that folding Sony tablet. What was the name of that tablet? It was a Sony, right?
The Sony Tablet P.
That's it. Sony Tab P.
I'm looking at it right now.
You see it?
That thing had a 5.5 inch.
Yeah, it was an actual tablet, though. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is right there. Oh, and that thing was hideous, man. Oh, my gosh. But it was a 4G tablet. It was Wi-Fi. It was on AT&T. It was on AT&T. That thing was hideous, though. It was hideous. Mm-hmm. It was a hideous looking tablet, man. That thing looked horrible.
I never seen anybody with it.
Yeah, no, I don't recall. I don't. But that thing had a 3080 milliamp hour battery. It ran an Integra 2 Integra 2 T20. That was a pretty powerful processor back then. That was powerful. But that thing weighed 372 grams. That was just horrible. That was horrible. Folding displays, guys, was the topic for tonight. I want to thank Night Tech, man, for taking the time out of his day, and I want to thank all you guys for... We've been at this longer than an hour. I mean, we've been at this longer than an hour. But I want to thank you guys. Special thank you to Night Tech Reviews. Man, dude, I reached out to you. You came in at short notice. Honestly, I didn't even... It was spur of the moment. I said, hey, can you do the show with me? And it was like drop of a dime. Man, I guess I can do it for you. Now, that's what I'm talking about. I appreciate it, man, because I didn't have a plan, and I thought I want to start having some guests, and I thought, what better way than to start off with another tech reviewer, and I'm going to work my way down the list and ask people if they want to be on the podcast or not, and I think it'll be fun. So if you do want to be on the podcast and you're a tech reviewer, we can chat offline. Just shoot me a message and say, hey, Jay, I'm ready to be on the podcast on Tuesday, and we'll make it happen. But special thank you to Night Tech for stepping up at the last, spur of the moment. Tell him, dude, I just hit you up. I was like, yo, can you do it? It was kind of totally spur of the moment. I'm sure he was like, huh? But this is, he likes tech, and I like tech, and we just like to have fun. So you guys are awesome in the podcast. If you caught this live, it's your man Jay Will, special guest Night Tech Reviews. If you're watching this or you're listening to this on YouTube or watching on YouTube for the replay crew, I appreciate you guys. These podcasts I leave them open so you can download them and play them later. And I started the podcast because a lot of people have to work, or they just want to listen to the radio or something like that. Or they just want to listen to tech. And I decided to create a tech channel. I thought this would be fun for those that actually can't watch a YouTube live stream. So I get a lot of people to say that. So again, folding devices, folding phones, folding tablets. The future is here. It's already here, and we're going to see what it's about. I personally am still going to rock with an iPhone from here on out. No. Forget Android now. But you guys are awesome, man. And again, shout out to Night Tech for stepping up at the last minute. Again, honest truth, man. I was out at the store shopping, and I was like, I got to run home and do this podcast. And I totally hit him up. It's the first person I thought of, because we were just talking in another chat. In my Telegram group, we were kind of chatting and stuff. And I was like, let me just see if he'll do it. I didn't think he would do it, but we're here. And let's see how this folds out, man. In the next 2 weeks or so, we're going to hear something about it, I think, because, like I said, people are posting things online about invites and things like that. So we're going to hear something. And I'll come right back, and we will do this again. We'll have Night Tech back again, obviously, because, he's going to have some insight on it probably. So we'll do it all over again, and we'll have multiple people on the podcast. It's totally possible. So I will see you guys on the next Tuesday podcast. I appreciate you guys joining in. Forbes Tech, Grant, Art, Sean, Cliff, all you guys, man, that join in, all the regulars, Chris, Marcus, all you guys that join in. If I didn't call your name, I still got love for you. You guys are awesome. So I will see you guys on the next podcast on Tuesday, and we're going to get it on, folks. It's your man, Jay Will. Night Tech, you want to close out?
Yo, thanks for having me, man. It's your boy Night Tech. Everybody have a great night.